This is Love, Sex, Food with Jigs and Prema.
Welcome to this episode of Love, Sex, Food, which is devoted to dating profiles, because we were thinking, what do we want to talk about tonight? And actually, we had a very juicy conversation at Soho House the other evening about dating profiles and the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we thought we would continue the conversation tonight in this episode because they are really, really important, especially in modern dating, where I reckon probably most people have tried dating apps. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of that is sadly the modern way of how you meet other single people. But not everyone on a dating app is necessarily single. Also, that is
I think
the
that's a
kicker.
different episode of a podcast, quite frankly. You know what? When I was married,
Yeah.
because I was married such a long time ago, but that was way before dating apps were on, and I was thinking, what a shame I missed out on that whole thing of dating apps. Look how cool it would be. Like, you know, you get to look at all these people, there's all these options, it's so exciting. And then when I became single in a dating app, I was like, God, this is just like right move, but for people, really.
Yeah, and I think dating apps now are definitely on the decline. But we're not here to talk about they're on the decline or not. We're talking about experiences. We're talking about where people, kind of get it wrong and what your dating profile says about you.
And also when they get it right, because don't forget, we met on a dating app, so we can't diss them too much.
No, I'm not dissing the dating app. I just think that...
Well, I mean, that's where most of your 500 first dates came.
Yeah, true. I mean, we have gamified it, right? And I think back in the old school days when I was starting out as a young buck in the world of dating, it was eHarmony was the shit. But just the reason why I never joined eHarmony, because it was like writing a thesis. The amount of work involved, it was like Gordon Bennett. So then I started Match. So I think my first profile was Match.com.
Mm-hmm.
And Match.com involves some serious work. And this is just before the days of like any form of help. So ChatGPT, any of this stuff. So then there's Match.com. And then as time went on, Tinder and Bumble were the two easiest, where it's just swiping left, right. And the bits that you need to write, could be one word answers. So generally the rule of thumb is the more time you need to spend writing your dating profile, the chances are you will probably meet a better quality person because they've made the effort. That's my view.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what had I tried before I met you? So we obviously met on Inner Circle, but I wasn't actually on that dating app. I had paused it, and then I was sent like one of those teaser emails that says, someone's been looking at you. Please pay us £50 and you can check them out. And I did. And then obviously you were there. So that was...
But you didn't pay 50 quid.
No, you paid 50. Exactly.
Well, 35, but hey.
That's how we met. But the ones I was using was Hinge, because it was a little bit more quirky on there.
Define quirky.
Well, it's just a bit more of a variety of different types of people. The questions are funnier. So, you get to feel someone's like a bit more sense of humour. I didn't like Bumble because I'm really old-fashioned and I like men to make the first move.
Right.
So the whole point on Bumble, I was like, I don't want to do this because this is very masculine for me. I want to be pursued. I want to be chased. And then I want to choose, not the other way around. And then Tinder, well, you know what happened to me on Tinder. I put my profile up because out of desperation, I was like, I'll just try it. Put my pictures on, and then I left it for about 3 days. And when I came back, 5,000 people had swiped on my profile. I was like, now, hold on a minute. Like, there's not 5,000 people genuinely interested in me. They're just, because it is such a swipey thing, it obviously just swiped and it accumulated. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? There's 5,000 people here. So I just closed it. And that was the end. That was my very limited experience with dating apps, and I had a real love-hate relationship with them when I was single. I would go on it I would go on them if I wasn't busy
Yeah.
with my own life and think, "Oh, I've got not much on a couple of weeks, maybe I'll go on." But then very quickly I became drained.
So, okay. So what is it that you look at first when you were on dating websites? Is it the picture? Is it the bio?
It's a good question. Well, I think, to be honest, I'm a really visual person, so
Right.
obviously it would be the picture.
Okay.
But then very quickly after that, it is, yeah, like what they say, the ones I like the best, and you don't like this, but I loved it, was the ones where you can leave a voice note. That was on
Yeah.
Hinge, and I always used to leave a voice note because you can tell so much from someone's voice. I mean, your voice is so sexy. You would have got loads and loads of extra swipes if you'd put one of those on. Seriously, man.
Okay. I'll try. I'll try next time.
Okay, well, on that note, I'm going to ask you some questions. And yeah, so here's a question for you. What, from your years of being on apps and obviously checking out women, what was your biggest ick in a profile that would make you instantly swipe left?
Well, I think for me, a profile that comes across as high maintenance.
Mhm.
And by high maintenance, I mean it's been so curated, like the pictures are so staged that that person that, I feel that that person just has never enjoyed anything in their life. They've never had any fun. Everything's a production and it's just hard work. Like, if I see that and I'm thinking they're probably looking for an Instagram boyfriend, i.e. someone to take pictures. So I think for me, if a profile doesn't have playfulness in it, some vulnerability, some, just genuine wholesome pictures that don't look like they've taken a film crew, camera crew, Photoshop, and a makeup artist to take that picture, then that's fun. But if you have, then I'm done. I'm out. So that's my biggest stick.
And you know what? That's interesting. Is because as a person, you are very natural. So of course, everything's a mirror. We talked about this the other day. Is that I think that couples do tend to reflect each other. So if you're a gym bunny, you're probably going to look for that in another
Yeah.
person. And I know that you value authenticity and just being yourself. So yeah, a production crew, I can see why that would be a no. Do you know what mine is?
Yeah, God.
Men who are holding up big pictures of fish. That was always a big ick. Oh, that was just an immediate swipe. I don't know why. I suppose maybe it's a kind of masculine hunter thing. Like, look what I just pulled out of the water. But for me, I was always like, this means that I'm going to be a fishing widow and I'm not going to see you from Saturday morning till Sunday night. So you're out.
And you better like fish.
You better like fish. Exactly. Well,
So
I do, but
so on that note of photos, how do you feel when you were looking at profile pictures and the person's profile had a picture of them. So if you were looking at like a man's profile and they had a picture of a woman with them, do you think that's off-putting, or like what's your view on other people being in photos? Yeah.
on your dating profile.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. This is the issue, isn't it? Because you're making up make up a story, lots of presumptions. We were just saying that you had a picture of one of your girlfriends, a friend who was a girl, and I was curious. I was like, what's the backstory behind that? How does that kind of fit in the puzzle? But then it was quite mysterious as well to some degree. So I don't know. I think it should just be representative of your personality. And actually, because I know you and I know how much your friends mean to you, and also I know how amazing you are with women and having so many women friends, it completely makes sense now. So actually, again, your profile was pretty true, to be honest. There wasn't a lot of smoke and mirrors. So yeah. What do you think if I was in one with my some of the guys in my life.
I think for me, I don't think it's, I don't think a red flag. I think if you're on a dating profile, you're single,
Yeah.
you have pictures with men, s- kind of, so what?
Yeah.
If they're, because ultimately, if that photo was taken and that was a great memory, or you love that picture, then why wouldn't you ultimately post it? So for me, if you had pictures, which you didn't, but if you had pictures of men, now if every picture was you with a different man, I'd be like, not sure she knows what's
But
going
yeah,
on.
but this whole thing again comes back to, do we look at pictures or do you read the profile? I think it's fascinating because it brings up so much judgment, dating apps.
Well,
Because the thing is, there's a difference between judgment and discernment, isn't there? Judging is when you
yeah,
go, wow, look at that, or they're too tall or too small, or too this or too that, or they're too rich or too poor, or whatever. That's being super judgy. But then discernment is when you just know in your heart that this person probably isn't a match. And I think that comes more from intuition.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, and I think what's important is, and one of the things that I truly believe that got me to 500 first dates, and what I work on with women, is that you need to date from a place of curiosity and not judgment. And I think that is such a powerful thing. So if you look at photos and you are judging, then you're kind of on the wrong track, because you're judging someone on a picture that you know no context about. So it's not a great start. And ultimately, we do live in a very fickle world where we do judge people on what you see.
Mm.
Um, and especially when it comes to dating, that that the profiles take more, or the pictures take more attention than the bios do. I
Yeah.
mean, if you had a profile up there with zero pictures and you wrote a beautiful profile, you probably wouldn't get any
I think
matches.
there is an app now that is no pictures. I think there is, which is because I think that does take that part out of it. And also, you've got to be pretty confident in your personality to go without the photos. I kind of like it. That's the kind of thing I would like because it's a bit out there and it's a bit wild. But I think that the thing that I feel really helped me with my like authenticity on my dating profile is that I just thought, ain't nobody got time for this. If you are not going to put down who you really are, you're going to be meeting people that are eventually going to see that you're not what you say you are. And so you're basically wasting their time, wasting your time. So I think honesty, I mean, you know me, honesty is one of my top values. And, that did happen even after in that first conversation that we had when we matched on Inner Circle. I said, look, I've got to be honest with you. Before we go any further, I'm going away for 3 months. And I said that like on about the sixth message. Your response was
Great.
great, which made no sense to me whatsoever. I was like, who is this weird man? I've just told him I'm going to the other side of the world and he's saying wonderful. And then it was like, yeah, because I'm going to Malta. So this is perfect. And as it was a
It was
very
perfect.
important
Yeah.
part of the story.
I have a question for you. Is that on a dating profile, it asks you what you're looking for, and it gives you a range of fun, casual dates to marriage and life partner. So
Yeah.
there's a pretty big spectrum of what you're looking for. And when you come across a profile that says fun and casual dates, and then it says marriage and life partner, so they've gone completely all the options. How do you, as a grounded female who knows what she wants, how does that sit with you?
Well, I have to be honest here is that I don't think I ever wanted to go on fun and casual days. I'm just not that person. So I genuinely, even on the filter, I think that you can say like what you're up for. I didn't really have anyone who wasn't up for, I think it was like long-term relationship or something. And I didn't actually tick marriage or whatever, but for me, I don't know. I think I really love depth. So if I saw that on a profile, A, I'd be confused, and B, I'd be like, no, this person probably isn't at the same point as me. And that's not to say that you can't have loads of fun on casual dates. You know, it's great experience. Like, you know, I've got loads and loads of friends and I have different friends for different things that I want to do. And that is a little bit like dating. You could
Mm,
have a be meeting up with different women or men for all the things that you love. And it's great. You can have a very full life in that way. But just my personality type is I would be definitely down for devotion.
cool. Here I am, devoted. Another question is when you match with someone and it's mutual, how long do you think the texting back and forth should go on? And then do you think it should move to voice notes or conversation or phone calls, or should it go straight to a date? What's your viewpoint on
Oh, this
this?
is a great juicy
Yeah.
question. I love this. Well, for me, I always want to get on a date in real life with someone ASAP. And I'm not sure that's the case with a lot of women. I mean, I'm a very fearless, bold person. I travel around the world on my own. I rock up not knowing where I'm staying and just, you know, I very much am in trust in the universe. So for me, I've never had any fear of meeting up with a man quite early on if there's chemistry and there's a bit of a vibe, because I'd rather go in person and really feel their energy, their presence, what they're like in real life, because then you can't hide. You know, you can't do that. Also, I think it saves a lot of time. So I genuinely, with the guys that I dated before I met you, I probably from the first time I connected, I'd probably be on a date with them within a week
Yeah.
every time. And then was able to be very frank and honest. Like at the end of that first date, I normally would say, yeah.
What you've got a terminology for what you would do after a date that didn't
Didn't
where
connect.
yeah,
Yeah. So my kind of approach was bless and block.
bless and block.
Because if someone is not for you, then you have to just be honest, say, thank you very much. That was amazing. But, you know, it's not going to be a match. And so, you know, I'm not going to keep your number. And that was it. Because then you really are very clear with someone. This is called a boundary. You know, I love my
Yeah.
boundaries. And so bless and block is a really good life affirming practice for both people, because they can move on, you can move on. And, you know, it was fun while it lasted for that 3 hours that we had a little drink.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about you?
What was the question?
The
Shit, I
question,
asked it, yeah.
the question is,
Yeah.
how quickly would you move from a first message to a first date?
I think over time, I think it's become quicker. I think what tended to happen when I was younger and probably a bit more naive was you would entertain a conversation through text longer, and you would then create this fictitious profile of this person.
Yeah,
And most of the time you'd meet them and you'd be disappointed because you've created what you've wanted to create and it's not fair on the other person. So I think I learned early on that there's no point just going back and forth in text for too long. And then the other thing that I definitely changed was that I wanted to kind of hear their voice, because I think a voice can tell you a lot
for sure.
about a person. So I, as you know, I'm not a big voice note person. I've become a lot better since we've met, but I've never been a big voice note person. However, my rule was, and most women are very good at voice notes. So at some point, a woman would drop a voice note, and in return, because I think it's only fair, I always sent back a voice note
Hmm.
because they shared, I share back, then I get to hear them and they get to hear me. But yeah, I wouldn't overextend too long to not meet up in person. So yeah, I'm definitely sooner the better.
Yeah, I think really that you hit the nail on the head there, is that the longer you stay in that kind of fantasy mode of what that person can be like the more expectations you and pressure you put on it,
Yeah.
whereas you just get out and just say, "Hi, let's go catch a drink or something." That's what I used to do, just something casual, and it didn't have to be a big, a really big deal. Yeah.
So I've got a thing that I kind of did a lot later on, but I was really adamant about it, was going on dates, but not going after work. We've spoken about this a lot. And I think in modern day dating, we just tag dating on to our working day. And it's part and parcel of, well, I'm already out in London. I might as well just go and meet this person and go on a date, and then I'll head home. So you're kind of going into your date with work energy, work mindset. And for most women who are absolute badasses are coming into a date with more masculine than feminine. And I think that can throw off the man because, it's not a business meeting, it's a date. So I was generally very adamant without being a pain in the ass, but be like planning a date that allowed the person to go home, to get changed, to kind of feel or get into their feminine, so that when you met them, it felt more like a date than, hey, let me fit you in for a quick one, then just before I need to get home
Yeah.
and just send out emails.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to set my profile to London, even though I was in Essex, because I wanted to go to London for a date because I love London,
Yeah.
and I love London lifestyle. So for me, it was fun. Had a lot of dates around Liverpool Street because that was really easy for me to go down and then have a great night and then go back home again. So I think that this is a little bit like what you teach, how to date consciously with joy. Even though I didn't really like dating, I'd never had a bad date, and I always gave it 100%. I really did. I always went with an open mind, just like I do with everything. And that's the thing, is how you date really is just an extension of how you do everything,
Yeah.
I think. So if you're not getting those dating results that you want, or you find dating a chore, then maybe it's time to look at that your mindset, your
Yeah.
attitude around it, because it could actually just be that's the block. And obviously you talk a lot about resilience as well, staying in the game. But what I would say, in reply to that is, yeah, it's good to stay in the game, but also, like I did, I got out of the game for 3 years, had a whale of a time, and then when I got back in, which was basically with you, I was completely ready. So I think there's dating is a mirror.
Yeah.
It really is a
I agree.
mirror. And, when you approach it in that way, you get to really see yourself in what you're doing.
If you if you could or had to create your own dating app, um, what key things either would you leave out, or what would be your non-negotiables on the dating app?
I know what my dating app would be called.
What would be
In
called?
fact, I might do it.
What is it?
It's called Food Safari. And what it is, it's a dating app where you match with someone and they have to choose the cocktails. Then you do the starter, they do the main, do the dessert. I think we should try it sometime.
Yeah.
I hear it's could work magic, and you could meet your person and then end up marrying them within a year. No, honestly, I mean, we did actually think when we first started Love Sex Food, could we recreate the food safari, experience? Because what was so amazing about that as a date was it was just full of creativity. It was full of trust. It was full of personality. It was full of adventure. It was full of spontaneity. And it was like the infinite game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the infinite game. Anything could have happened. And so for me, it was a perfect way to meet you. I'd never done it before. I'd been waiting for a long time to do it. So imagine if you had like a whole app just full of people who would be willing to be that trusting and that open. You're bound to meet your person.
Yeah. I mean, me being an ex hospitality operation head, my logistics are going completely on red right now. But no, it's a great idea. I mean, even the other night we were out with a friend and we couldn't really just decide on where we wanted to eat. So we kind of did a mini food safari ourselves, and it was just fun. You just hop from one place to
Yeah.
another, and it's a great way of seeing London, and trying just different cuisines and different foods. And yeah, it is.
So that would be
It's a lot of
mine.
fun.
That would be mine. But also, I do I do believe that really honouring what it is that you love normally takes you to places where you're gonna find your people, and whether it's friends or lovers or whatever, or your soulmate. Some of it, as good as helpful as the dating apps are, that if you just follow your bliss and your excitement, I believe that, people love comes in so many different ways, in friends, in, short, like, little dinner dates out, which don't necessarily aren't called dates. They're just going out and learning and talking and listening to men, or, you know, whoever it was. That was a big, like, just taking the pressure off of that idea of it's a date, so therefore it's gonna go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, there's an expectation at the end. Like, did you ever feel like that? Like, when you went on a date, how did you manage, like, expectation?
Well, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't go on a date unless I was excited, right? And there was definitely some chemistry there and some attraction.
Well, that's 500,
Yeah,
500 of those.
a lot of years. However, though, I went with a really open mindset and with a mindset that was curious. And I say that because ultimately, if nothing came of it and I met someone and they were just a good, genuine person that I would either grab a coffee with again, but not in a romantic setting, then so be it, because I think the world is such a rich place with such amazing people. And it sounds a bit, oh my God, yeah. But it's true though, because you can never have enough great people in your life. And you never know, like you might meet someone and not romantically connect. But if you are a joyful social person, then they might meet their person through you,
Yeah.
through your social network, you know? And I think so much of it is about that. And I think that's also why the dating app culture, and you're right, because when you go onto a dating app, you're there to date. So when you go on a date, you need to know, is this going to a second date or is this not going? So it's very linear, it's very transactional, and it's very black and white. However, I suggest to a lot of the ladies that when they're pissed off about going on dating apps because they're just exhausted and tired with men not meeting them, as in emotionally not meeting them, not physically. I would turn around and question and say, what do you love doing? What gives you joy? What makes you the happiest? And things like, well, I love to cook, or I love to paint, or well, go and do classes or go and do something
Mhm.
social that you can ultimately connect with someone in that room, because you're both there for the same reason. So if you love reading books, go to a book club. If you love cooking, go to a cookery class.
Mm.
So you're already there, and you've taken the pressure of it being a date off the peg. Now, if there's not a single guy there, so be it. You'll meet some incredible people, but you'll also learn how to cook, because that's ultimately why you
Yeah.
went there in the first place. So you're doing something that's more experiential than transactional, which is going on a date through a dating website.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking it, because that's where we
Yeah.
met,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I just feel that there are other ways of doing it. And it wasn't only dating apps that I met women on to go on dates with. I was more keen on going to social events and getting out there and having conversation, and seeing if there is a connection, and then, then saying, hey, do you fancy grabbing a drink? Kind of just the old fashioned way.
I love that. I think there should be more of that. It feels, I think that, as a woman, it is beautiful to have a man come over and ask you to go for a drink.
Mm.
It's Well, I mean, I'm an old school romantic, but I really found that in the past. I think one of the things that I wanted to share about when I was dating was that in general, it helped me build up my confidence with just meeting people I didn't know. So even though I didn't find like there was about 2 years where I went on a lot of dates and I didn't necessarily find someone that I wanted to make it into a relationship, I really enjoyed my own personal development in, whoa, okay, I'm actually doing this. I've met someone. I think they're quite cool. I want to go and try this new place out in London. Let's go together. I reckon I'm an interesting enough person that I could hold a conversation with anyone that I could meet. I love finding out about people. I love listening. I love answering questions. So for me, it allowed me to meet a lot of new people in a very short period of time in an easier way than, say, meeting friends. And the more I did it, the more confident I was, even when, it was someone who I then didn't want to see anymore. I still felt confidence from it. So again, it's about the question really, I think is why are you dating? Are you dating to, lock it down fast? Because if you are, it's probably going to have to sort of expect that there's going to be a lot of like testing that goes on, a lot of experiences that won't be exactly what you're looking for, but if you're transparent about what you want straight away, you'll find that a lot of people fall out straight at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, but then that also comes back to boundaries, right? And ultimately keeping your standards high, which is really important because I think when you get into the date or when you go dating, it's very important that you don't come from a mindset of, I would like to be chosen.
Yeah.
Because once that power shift changes and you're happy to be chosen, then I don't think you're putting your best foot forward.
Yeah, it's a tough one that though, because I think inherently a lot of women want to be chosen. There's just something in the feminine psyche that we want the hero to come along on his white steed and pick us up and take us off into the sunset. There is something that's like in the subconscious like field of women that makes us want to be chosen like that. I don't know where it comes from. A lot of women I talk to feel like that, and a lot of women who, when they start dating, if they feel like a man is not repeatedly choosing them,
Yeah.
i.e. texting them, checking in with them, being consistent, then that actually activates their nervous system, and that normally means that it's a cut. Because I think it's really important for women, because remember that women are looking for security because biologically we are programmed and able to have children. So when we look for a man, we need a man from our subconscious point of view who's going to stick around and be consistent, because we need that man to provide for us, to protect us and look after us. So that's why that whole thing of like being chosen is important.
Yeah.
But when you flip it on the other way, actually, women can also choose. I don't know how is it important for you? Was it ever important for you as a man to feel like you'd been chosen?
I think being chosen is, well, everything's a choice, right?
Mhm.
Agreeing to go on a date, agreeing to another date, agreeing to even have a phone call. All these are choices because time is precious for everyone. So I think, as you get to know that person and you offer, shall we go on a date, and they say yes, then they're choosing to spend time with you. And then the second date, would you like to go on a second date? And they choose to go out with it. But also I think it's important that um that in order for a man to be chosen, a woman also needs to make the man feel that they're interested.
Yeah.
I think very easily, and this is where it comes back to the whole male and female kind of energy and kind of just the masculine and feminine. But that's a question, that's a talk for another time. But yes, it's absolutely important for a man to feel that he's been chosen, because it then makes the man show up. And as much as a woman wants a safe nervous system, I think a real man also wants the same thing as well.
Absolutely. I think what it is about men is that they like to be appreciated and not taken for granted, because I think that that's what men enjoy, is actually being of service. So if you're making the effort and a woman's not noticing, I think that that can kind of, I think that's something that I've kind of noticed, even having sons, to
Mm.
really appreciate and notice what what they're doing. Mm, because we've talked about this. I think men are a little bit more simple. They just want to know, am I doing it right or not? Whereas women are like, woohoo! Like there's just got like 360 things going on in your mind at the same time. So yeah, but anyway, I think that the whole conversation about being chosen would be a great one for another time, because I know personally I've got a bit of an issue. I used to have a bit of an issue about that. You've really helped me through this because of how completely consistent, safe, and incredibly caring you are for me, that I now know in every cell of my body that I'm fully chosen. And it really is one of the greatest things that you've given me, alongside many other things. But mine stems from not being chosen at school, not being chosen for the netball team, not being chosen to, like, you go out with the girls and you're not chosen to go out. Like, I think that it's a very painful experience, that. And that's why I think perhaps it does hurt so much when
When you're
people
not
go to,
chosen.
or even worse, when you're ghosted,
Yeah.
because
Oh, God.
that's a real bummer. That's why I would do block and bless over ghosting any day of the week, because it's just not nice. But anyway, I think that could be a very good juicy conversation for another
Yeah.
time. And like, if you're
Being
listening,
chosen and ghosted.
these are the weapons and magic wands in dating. But if you're listening to this and you want to share anything, you can always DM us over at our Instagram. If you're not following us on social, we'd love you to come over and say hi. Love Sex Food on Insta. And yeah, let us know how you're receiving this. If there's anything else that you want us to talk about, we've got loads of things to talk about. We've got some very exciting things coming up in the next few weeks. And of course, this is your expertise, Jigs, with your 500 First Dates to Love book coming out in 2026.
Yeah.
So there's going to be lots more wisdom and guidance that you're going to be offering.
Absolutely. And also, I'm sharing some juicy content about love without compromise. So check out that social as well, at Love Without Compromise on Instagram. Thought I'd just plug that. But this has been a really fun conversation, because we've had a lot of chats about dating profiles over the past week with ourselves and other people, and I just thought it was just a really relevant, fun conversation to be had. So yeah, so thank you for listening and taking the time. And as Prema said, if you have any pressing questions or you want us to talk about something that you would like to know more about, then drop us a DM. But until next time,
Yeah, I'll see you on the next episode.
take care. Bye.